Find all real zeros of the polynomial. Use the quadratic formula if necessary. So I have p of x equals 3x cubed minus 5x squared minus 8x minus 2. And using the rational root theorem, I know it's going to be the factors of these divided by the factors of this. So the factors of 2 is going to be 2 or 1. And I'm going to do plus or minus. And then it's going to be divided by 3 or 1. So the options could be plus or minus 2, 1, 2/3, or 1/3. So I'm going to choose 2. So I choose 2. Then I do synthetic division with these coefficients, 3, -5, -8, -2. And you end up getting 3, 6, 1, 2, -6, -12, and then -14. This is not 0, which means that 2 is not a factor. So I could check -2 next, and then -1, and +1, and -2/3, and net +2/3, and +1/3, and -1/3. But for the sake of this video and the length of the video, I'm just going to pick the right one. And the right one is actually going to be -1/3. So I have 3, -5, -8, -2. This comes down. -1/3 times 3 is -1. That gives me -6. -6 divided by 3, -3, is going to be +2. -8 plus 2 is -6. -6 times -1/3 is 2. -2 plus 2 is 0. That's what we want. So I can factor out this first guy, this whole thing, into, so I can rewrite this as p of x equals x. Now remember, this is the root of my first factor. So it's going to be x plus 1/3. And then it's going to be 3x squared minus 6x minus 6. So now what we're going to do is to make this a little nicer. What I'm going to do is, if you notice right here, those are all divisible by 3. So I'm going to factor out a 3. So that gives me p of x equals, factor out a 3 up to the very front, x plus 1/3. And this becomes x squared minus 2x minus 2. Now, I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to distribute into this one. And that gives me p of x equals 3x plus 1, and then x squared minus 2x minus 2. So now if you notice, instead of the 3 being common here, I took it out, and it doesn't matter whether I put it here or put it here because multiplication is commutative. Then I take this 3 and put it back into here. That way this 1/3 goes away, and it just looks nicer. So now I have this right here, and I can either keep going through this, but I'm not going to waste my time. It's quadratic, so I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So x equals -b, so that's -2, so that's +2, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So this gives me x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 8 over 2, which gives me 2 plus or minus the square root of 12 over 2. So 12 is going to be 4 and 3. That's 2 and 2, so 2 comes out. So this becomes 2 plus or minus 2 square roots of 3 all over 2, which then reduces to be 1 plus or minus the square root of 3. So my zeros are going to be, well, it's the zeros of this, which is going to be -1/3. And then the zeros of this right here, which is what we just found. So one of them is going to be 1 plus the square root of 3, and the other one's 1 minus the square root of 3. So there are my zeros.